Hello, Stephen back after like 2 months of absence. I kind of made a bit of a comeback, I started posting videos more regularly. I asked people to ask me questions and I will answer them. And then I fucked off for 2 months. So here I am to answer your questions. Question one, Money Burner, Mr. Kevin. You look jacked as fuck. Nice man. Thank you, Kevin. You were also jacked as fuck. Yeah, Kevin, check out his channel. He does some really good live streams. I've joined there a few times and we just end up shooting the shit and just chatting and chatting. Really good guy, good guy. I'll be meeting up with him later on in the year, hopefully in like Italy or something. I'm really looking forward to that. Also, it's not a question. Ask me a question, Kevin. Jesus. Second one comes from Jim, who's been a lot. At this stage, having been around the fragrance block for a few years, do you find that you purchase more new fragrances or repurchase replacement bottles? That's a good question. At the moment, I've stopped now, but towards the end of last year, I went a bit crazy just buying fragrances. For some reason, I thought to myself, I decided to collect Amouage fragrances, which are not cheap by any means, and there are numerous men's Amouages, and I just thought, I want to own them all. I did this before with the brand Ermenegildo Xenia. I bought all the high-end niche Essenza line, and then I eventually sold them all because, well, majority of them, because I wasn't really wearing them, and I just kind of had them for the sake of it. I think I did a bit of that with Amouage, and I've been into fragrances for 6 years now. I think 7 years come May. I think I started my channel back in sort of May 2016. So it'll be up to 7 years now, and in this time I haven't finished that many bottles. I think on average it takes me about 6 years to go through a bottle. So it's not been really a case of repurchasing stuff. Although what I have found is things that I really do like and that I use often, like Quorum, Fahrenheit Antaeus, Kouros, Polo Green, or Sauvage, some of my like sort of stable mates, if you will. I've got backup bottles of these anyway, so when I run out, it's just a case of reaching for another one. Also, I do sometimes sell decants, so that does kind of use up my bottles a bit more than just simply wearing them off my own back. But yeah, it's hit or miss. I've just gone a bit mental recently. I've bought way too many fragrances. I had maybe 60. I think I'm up to 100 now, and that's not bottles, that's unique fragrances. When it comes to bottles, I have a lot of backups, which is just stupid. Lucille, she asks, have you had any funny or embarrassing reactions to fragrances you're wearing? And have you had any funny or embarrassing reactions to fragrances others are wearing? Thank you, Stephen. Genuinely, no. I wear fragrances that are strong, and I don't really kind of hold back my application. I went through a period actually of kind of wearing 3 sprays or maybe less, and like doing half sprays, so I'm trying to sort of moderate my usage and seeing how that affects things like performance. But genuinely, people don't say anything about my fragrances in work. There was one time in work so I work in a large office, it's like an open office, and I wore Polo Green, and so I'm up in sort of one corner of the room. I put on maybe like 4 or 5 sprays of Polo Green. It's a vintage one, if that makes any difference. Somebody walked in through so our office is connected to a warehouse. Somebody came into the office through the warehouse, and the guy went, Jesus Christ, what's that smell? Except this is 30 foot away. So I'd only just sprayed it too, so the fragrance projection was enormous. I didn't realize it was that strong. But generally people don't really say anything to me. The most reactions I get from people in work tend to be that strong, which I'm taking as a bit of a negative thing because they don't really comment on the scent itself. And I did have a really positive reaction the other day. Well, maybe December time. I bought Prada L'Homme Amber Intense. Prada Amber Pour Homme Intense, whatever it's called. I'd put a few sprays on. Somebody walked behind me to use the printer, this girl, and she's like, what is that smell? Wow! It was like really enthralled by it, so yeah. But no, like, generally nothing. I'm surprised in all the years of wearing fragrances, just no comments. But that's how it is. I don't know if I'm unapproachable. I think I'm quite easygoing, so if somebody didn't like my scent, they would be like, Jesus Christ, Steve, that stinks. But just nothing. Strange. Jane asked me, are there any fragrances or fragrance notes which negatively affect you, make you sneeze or give you headaches, etc.? Not really. There's a couple of I owned once. What's it called? Givenchy's Xerius Rouge, which has a chili note, and when I sprayed that, I would always sneeze. There's a couple of stuff where I've had it with Kouros. Like Kouros, my all-time favorite fragrance. I love it, and it's very polarizing. And there's a few times I've sprayed that and sort of choked myself out, coughing, going, Jesus Christ. But it's just down to the strength. There's a really strong fragrance. Generally, notes, I don't dislike many that yeah. I've bought like essential oils or some like things like skunk. I've got a skunk dilute, which is horrendous. I think it's sort of 5% in, so it's like 5% of, it's like maybe like a 5 ml sort of vial. 5% of that 5 ml is the skunk tincture. And it's so like sort of, it hits you in the back of the throat and yeah. And like upon looking up the note of skunk, it lingers for hours and hours and hours. Things like civet is really nice. People have this impression that civet makes a fragrance really nasty. However, I have like a natural civet tincture, I suppose, and it's really floral. There's nothing nasty in there. Yeah, people like give civet a hard time, but no. I've got a lot of natural stuff. I got natural musk, natural ambergris, a lot of oud, a lot of oud, some oud wood, lots of oud. And yeah, nothing comes close to that skunk. And in terms of fragrances, is Sauvage. I hate Sauvage. Dior Sauvage is just like, it grates upon my skin. It was one of those, I don't smell it so often now, but I smelled it everywhere. It was like kind of ubiquitous at some point. And it just really screechy and just, it irritates my nose. And there's something really hateful about that fragrance. T says, what's the worst smell you've ever experienced? Yeah, probably that skunk. But then there's some weird smells like where, if you cut yourself and it's healing and it's scabbing up and it's a bit not very nice. I think the nasty smells, you smell it, you're like, ugh. And you go back in for another whiff. Yeah, some strange stuff like that. Last night I did put this ambergris and sandalwood blend on, and I didn't like it that much. I've had it for years, maybe 5 years, and it just doesn't really it's not a pleasant smell. I think it's the type of ambergris, because I have another one which is, so ambergris you get different grades like black, grey, white. Basically the pure, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on what they mean because I'm not too sure. But this one's a black ambergris, I think, and the smell is a bit. It's not like halitosis, like people say, like bad breath. But it just wasn't something to weigh by itself. It just didn't give me much of a pleasurable experience. Like for example, musk. Musk smells like bloody, and when you get punched in the nose and you kind of get this bit of a nosebleed, and yeah, if you get, I've recently started doing like martial arts, and we do sparring. So I've been punched in the face quite a lot recently. So once you get hit, you get that sort of sharp metallic sort of taste. Musk can have that similar effect, but I don't find it unpleasant. It's quite nice in a weird way. Cedric Coulter asked me, are there any weird smells that you really like? There's a very common theme here, isn't there? So I think I've pretty much covered that question with my previous answers. What's that smell? Which fragrances do you smell the most when you're out and about? Do you think your nose has improved since you got into fragrances, or do you think your anosmia has got worse? Are there any fragrances which you really dislike? When I'm out and about, I'm very unsocial. I don't really go out sort of clubbing or to nightclubs or pubs. And generally, I don't notice fragrances. I'm not sure if it's a thing local here, but people just don't seem to sort of wear fragrances that I can perceive. Like I'll be in a group of friends and none of them have a noticeable sillage. So I don't know about that one. Has my nose improved? I can probably pick out notes a little bit better. Not very well if you've ever watched my first impressions, but I'd like to think sort of I can detect them a bit better. For example, with raw oud oils, I can generally smell a new oud and kind of being able to roughly geolocate where the oud is coming from, like Malaysia, Thailand, etc., Sri Lanka. There's certain characteristics of oud oils which I can pick up on and sort of I can pinpoint it that way. Also, the oils tend to tell you where they come from. I mean, the sellers of the oils say that. But yeah, I know 6 years, 7 years in this hobby, and I'm still shit. I don't train myself. I think I was a heavy smoker back in the day when I used to do my videos. Up until sort of 2017, late 2017, I'd smoked weed for 15 years. And I really think that done a number on my nose in terms of being able to smell stuff. I did notice once I stopped that it did start to improve. Like I'd noticed the smell of cigarettes on other people and find it really disgusting. And I did find that fragrances had better longevity after quitting cigarettes and weed. Like over here in the UK, we tend to smoke joints, which are tobacco and weed mixed together. Manjepnostis says, "Hi Stephen, I would love to know more about your background in learning the Welsh language." So yes, I'm from Wales. We have our own language in Welsh. When I was young, my parents sent me to a Welsh school. So effectively, I got brought up speaking Welsh in school. We get taught things like maths and science in Welsh. So from the age of maybe 5 or 6 is when I think you go to nursery where everything's in English, and they gradually introduce the new language to you. Like for example, I learned Spanish and French in Welsh. So they tell us what the French terms are. They would tell us what a French word is and then explain the meaning of that in Welsh, which is really weird. And in high school, it was only English is when we were allowed to speak English. Like the school is very strict about Welsh. It's a dying language. Not many people speak it. Down here in South Wales, not that many people speak it. Whereas up in North Wales, it's more common where entire villages will speak Welsh as the main language. Whereas here, so as a secondary language, you'd be hard pressed to find kind of people who converse primarily in Welsh. All our signs in Wales are dual in Welsh and English. And every place is named in a Welsh way. So you have an English name and a Welsh name. So yeah, the school was very strict about kind of enforcing Welsh upon us. So I think because of that, a lot of us rebelled. So the school would give you detention if they caught you speak English. And of course, we weren't cool with that. Like, we always felt like Welsh was imposed upon us because of just being in school. So my friends and I would never really kind of speak to each other in Welsh. But now it's kind of cool because you do meet the occasional Welsh speaker and you can sort of have little private conversations amongst people who can't speak Welsh. My Welsh speaking has been very not used, I would say, since I left school. So I tend to be able to understand Welsh. I can hear it and understand what's being said. But when it comes to speaking the language, I kind of stumble and I can get a few words in and then mentally I'm unable to translate a word from English to Welsh. So byddai fi gallu siarad I chi fel hyn, ac pan dwi'n dweud geiriau, dwi just wedi anghofio sut I dweud rhywbeth ewch mewn yn Cymraeg. Although that was really well because I spoke, yeah. It's an interesting language, there's a lot of harsh sounds like and th, and th. Like TH is a letter, double D is a letter, CH is LL is a letter in Welsh, which is a sound. So you get places like Llanelli or Llangranog. Yes, it's an odd language. And so James Darnley asked me about sports, fitness, and any tips. Yep, I'm a cyclist. I'm a very keen cyclist. In 2021, I cycled 10,000 kilometers. Last year, I cycled 8,000 kilometers. I've cycled every single day for the past 2 years and 2-3 weeks now. I think I'm on like a 750, 760 streak of cycling every single day. I work out 3 times a week. I do martial arts 3 times a week. Yeah, kind of. If you look back to my videos from 2019, I went really fat. and I just kind of didn't realize this was happening to me. So I took it upon myself to just sort it out and yeah, sort out my eating and just get back into eating right. And I'm naturally slim. If you go back to my videos from sort of 2016, I'm probably a bit bigger than I am now. But yeah, I'm kind of almost in my physical peak, I'd say. Like, I wish I'd applied some of the stuff I've been doing when I was 20 because could have been good. But yeah, tips is eat carbohydrates. Do not fear carbohydrates. Do not fear sugar. Never cut back on meals. Don't count your calories. Reduce your fat intake by a lot. Massively eat carbohydrates. Do not fear carbohydrates. Don't do things like skipping meals at night because it's late and you shouldn't eat at night. It's 10 o'clock-ish now and I'll be going to bed soon. I got back from my Kung Fu lessons at just gone 9 o'clock. So I think 20 past 9 I was sitting down to eat food. I had 300 grams of pasta and some bread, followed by 2 crumpets. I eat things like bowls of rice. I just eat carbohydrates non-stop and I'm really lean, ridiculously lean. And my body fat is just dripping off me at the moment, combined with cycling. I mean, I don't cycle often, I cycle to and from work, which is how I'm able to ride every day. Driving sucks. I just don't drive much nowadays. I drive to the shop for shopping. But yeah, I want to do a kind of bigger video on this, but carbohydrates are the way. You know, people do keto and that bullshit. Don't. Keto and our high fat diet was designed to treat epilepsy. And people go on keto and go, oh, I've lost loads of weight, which is water weight because for every gram of carbohydrate that you intake, your body will store 4 grams of water. So there is the thing of how carbohydrates will retain water. So therefore, when you go keto, you will lose a lot of water weight. And people are like, wow, what an amazing diet, I'm dropping weight so fast. But no, there was a guy in work who was doing keto and he lost a lot of weight and he put it all back on. And then in his eyes, he thinks now the way to lose it again is to do keto again. And they see it as a temporary thing. I've been eating high carb, low fat for 2 years. It's not a diet, it's my diet in terms of what I eat. Not a diet as in a temporary measure to lose weight. Just fuck that, you know. You will ruin your metabolism by just kind of all this calorie counting and sort of... There's a guy in work, right, who lost a lot of weight recently, reduced his calories massively. Then he went away on the weekend, he went out drinking, ate loads of crap food, went out for food with his family, basically drunk for a couple of days straight. And then I was talking to him and I said, so what are you doing now? He said, oh, I put weight back on. And then in his eyes now, he needs to effectively super compensate for this fact he's overeaten. So now he's going to reduce his calories even more in order now to undo the effects he done on the weekend. It's just mental. Like, people cause themselves so much metabolic damage by just yo-yoing all over the place. Just be consistent. I don't count calories. I just eat as much food as I feel like I need to eat. And my weight remains constant. My body fat just drops down. Yeah. So that's my random tips, I guess. Just get moving, you know. I stretch. Part of my martial arts involves flexibility training, and it's made a massive difference. I work with computers, and I've been a computer nerd for years and years, 20 years plus. I feel like I've done a number on my back. You know, I was always clicking my back, and I felt sort of stiff and immobile. Doing martial arts 3 times a week, which involves flexibility training, is really undoing this. However, I know it's going to take time to kind of fix it. I can't expect miracles to happen in a year. It's going to be a long-term thing because it's taken me a long time to do this myself. So it's going to take a long time to undo that. Right, I'm knackered. I'm trying to be consistent now. I'm going to bed at the same time every day, waking up the same day, which I do in the week anyway, but doing it on the weekends. And I'm tired, so I have little time. I wanted to do this video for so long, but just lack of time lately. Like, I'm practically falling asleep now, so I'll edit this video tomorrow because I'll have some free time. So yeah, that was my Q&A session. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this camera filmed me well. Goodbye until the next video.